Hi there, my name is FixFox, and welcome back to Factorio. In this episode here, we're going to be doing quite a bit. We're going to get some long-range mining set up with our iron ore production. We're going to get ourselves into some roboports, and we're also going to get ourselves into some general bots that are going to help the Lazy Bastard portion of this Lazy Bastard Deathworld run go quite a bit better. To this point, it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to make sure that we always have the right items in our hand at any given moment. A typical mall is going to handle a lot of those problems, but you don't really understand how often you end up handcrafting things when you really shouldn't. And that's only because, and not because I'm against handcrafting, really, it's a part of the game for a reason, but if you don't do a Lazy Bastard run ever, you're not going to realize the true joy of having an automated mall setup. You're going to have this sort of crutch that's going to stick with you for way too long. And I think that a Lazy Bastard run was probably like the 6th or 7th playthrough of Factorio I ever did. And I walked away a much better engineer because of it. And at this point, the roboports and the infrastructure we're going to build up in this playthrough is going to actually help mitigate the struggles with the Lazy Bastard run. All of a sudden, we're going to have plenty of resources and pre-made materials in our hands just because the bots are going to deliver those right to us. And that's going to be okay. In general, though, my playthrough so far has not had a grand scale amount of infrastructure. Typically, I'm the type of player that likes to have a full 10 hours of just quote-unquote early game building. And the idea with that is that then I have a great infrastructure. There's no problems for late game. I can scale into the mid game with very little problems. But with the Deathworld portion of this run, that's been quite a bit of an issue. It's been a problem because I have been unsafe or felt unable to get too big too fast. Otherwise, the pollution cloud would make it impossible for me to deal with biters, and that would spur more evolution. And so it seems to be the prudent choice that I just sort of be tactical with my building. And still, now is going to be the time where we start to flesh out a few more of these early game opportunities. I mean, heck, for the first time, you can see that we're finally doing some copper and we're finally doing some iron smelting that I would actually be proud of. So the mining process and then the smelting process on top of that, yeah, it's actually getting to be pretty darn important because, yeah, 8 steel furnace smelters, that's just not going to cut it. Later on, we're also going to be doing steel. So we're going to be doing our iron, we're going to be doing our copper, and we're going to be doing steel in this playthrough. And we are making some pretty normal adjustments that you would see. We just have to, again, just sort of scale up a little bit. Now, the best part about this playthrough is that I purposefully spawned in the trees. I can't begin to tell you how important that is, because if I hadn't spawned in the trees and if we were on the desert tile set, we wouldn't actually be having a fun time. I play Factorio because it's fun. And if we did not start anywhere but in the lush tree area, then yeah, the pollution would be so out of control so quickly that I think that we would have just the worst struggle. So it's actually really nice to be able to enjoy this Deathworld run, but that doesn't mean that the biters are not going to be a problem. We're going to get attacked throughout. Literally, in this video alone, I know that I cut out about 45 minutes to an hour and a half of just fighting biters. Occasionally I'll show you the attacks on my base just as they happen, but really there's going to be a lot of fighting that just has to happen because you have this choice. Do you go out and clear out the enemies, or do you sit back on your haunches and just defend? At some point in the Deathworld run, you are going to need a big gigantic fence, but I contend that in the early game it's much better to go out and defeat the enemies in the poison cloud. That's just going to give you more bang for your buck insofar as dealing with enemies. Now, that biter nest that I just pointed out there, that one's actually going to stay for the next 3 or 4 videos, funny enough. Like, the tree line is so good at soaking up pollution that it doesn't really become the worst problem in the world, which is a little bit surprising. So happy for that. By the way, we're getting into modular armor. Very nice. We're also getting into these portable solar panels. We are going to forget in the future to make sure that we also get a portable roboport, but that'll only be a problem when we're trying to use the robots in our hand to build ourselves this nice rail that we're going to have going to the east in a little bit. In the meantime, though, we do need to make sure that we get some of the prerequisite materials for the robot frames. You're going to need things like, for example, the batteries, which we're working on the sulfur for that right now. And that's going to require that we bring lines of materials up to the north. We got to make sure that we have copper to the north in our oil production lines. We got to make sure that we have steel at some point. We're going to have to make sure we have copper. And what tends to happen for me is I have decided on not having really call it a bus design, but I do like to have 3 or 4 lines of production going north and 3 or 4 lines of production coming south with finished products. That tends to work out okay for me, and then I kind of move them along a super highway that we're going to see over time as this game develops. But for now, getting out these starting basic materials, that's just going to be the beginning of something much bigger and much grander. So nice to see a couple of batteries there. We're going to bring those batteries to the south, and we're going to do robot frames in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm immediately noticing a problem. Folks, we got exactly 4 steel furnaces that are doing iron production for us. That's simply not going to cut it. It's time to scale this up as well. So in this playthrough, we've already done the iron, we've already done some copper, and now it's time to just completely tear down this steel. And then I've purposefully left myself some space where I can do big, gigantic fields of steel. Tiny bits here will not do, unfortunately. It's just going to be something that we need full belts of. At least 1 full yellow belt in the early game is really nice. And then later on, I'd say at least 1 full red belt of steel. It's probably going to take you at least to the point where you can launch rockets without too many issues, without too many bottlenecks. I think that because of the Deathworld implications and because of the issues that we have with not being able to set up as much infrastructure as I typically like, we are going to run into tons and tons of bottlenecks in this playthrough. But here's the thing, folks, if everything is bottlenecked, then nothing is bottlenecked. You just have less production. That's all that means. Yeah, it just means that you have less to worry about, and that's okay. So we've got our iron that we're actually putting into a splitter now, so that way we can split off materials as necessary. I'm trying to figure out how I get these gears across to where I need them to go, and then also get that line of iron ore into where I need to for this early game base building design. And so we're going to use this belt weaving. If you've never seen this before, it's just where you use different colored belts to stack on top of each other, and then because yellow and red undergrounds are completely different, you don't actually need to worry about whether or not the engineer is going to get those mixed up underground as they just get from point A to point B. It's magic. I ain't got to explain nothing. Just has to work, man. So it does. So the yellow and the red belt undergrounds, we're going to be using those to get some materials in some odd places. I love the spaghetti portion of Factorio. Like, I really do. I've tried gigantic bot bases, and they're just not nearly as satisfying as trying to fit little odds and ends into random places. Like, that just makes me so much happier. And so we're going to be doing quite a bit of that. Quite a bit of that indeed. By the way, as we're getting the bots up, we're going to have to make a little bit of a decision. Are we going to want to let the bots be normally just everywhere that we want them to be? Like, do we limit them in some way, shape, or form? Do we want to have 10,000 construction bots running around the place in the future? We will make some decisions in a little bit. I've got an elegant design for that. I say it's elegant. It's more like borrowed, stolen from other people, but it's an elegant design nonetheless. And that's just going to be using a little bit of circuitry to make things better. A little bit of attacks here and there, not too bad. Thankfully, the enemies are running straight towards my defenses. I've got so much of this base that's completely undefended. And I gotta tell you, because again, we're in the trees, we haven't had nearly so many issues with biters randomly popping up in places that we just don't want them. And more than that, all I can say is I'm very, very grateful for that. All right, so we've got our steel production up, and boy, there's plenty of it. We're bringing steel from the south all the way up to the north. In a little bit, we're also going to be bringing up the iron and the copper. There you go. And this is the start of something beautiful right here. Yeah, there's the start of something beautiful. But now the issue is I'm saying, well, if we're going to be making some great items here, I had the choice. Either I could make some new engine parts up here, like I'm actually doing there. I'm going to have at least 5 assemblers making engine parts, or I could have tried to just belt up the engine parts from the south. The thing is that I was thinking far enough in advance that I said, well, robot frames are actually part of the yellow science build, and because I don't plan on doing dedicated science facilities, you know, rows and rows of assemblers that just give you exactly what you need for the specific science that you're trying to create, then I might as well just make all the robot frames I need now, and also enough robot frame assemblers that will then later feed on into my yellow science. So we're still several videos away from that, but we're getting there. We're getting there. In the meantime, logistical concerns, it'd be great if we had our engine parts and our electric engines in the same spot, but just due to constraints, due to limited building opportunities because of my poor choices, we have to just fit those in wherever we possibly can. So it's going to be the electric engines kind of in that northern mall area, and then we're just going to belt those on down. But that gives us a little bit of an opportunity to make sure that we have some of these other materials, like, oh, I don't know, these batteries. The batteries are going to stay on that same line, and then those are all going to start to feed into these robot frames. Do love the robot frame design, by the way. Bots are so interesting to me because you can rush them, right? Like, you can rush into bots if you so desire. And once you do, the game really does unlock for you. I'm the kind of person that my favorite part of Factorio is up to chemical science. So everything we're seeing here, this is like my bread and butter. This is what I really do enjoy. But our goal is to travel to all the different planets in order to enjoy this Deathworld run. And so we are going to need to make sure that we have bots, because if you're away from your home world, you do need to make sure that you have an ability to actually, do stuff. Hey, I'm on Volcanus, but I got stuff at home I need to build. Oh no, I got biters that are coming to get me. Rawr. Yeah, you got to make sure that we are able to fight those off. So in general, the bots are going to be not just a good idea, but they're going to be non-negotiable to the extreme. So we now have robot frames. We've got some red chips, we got some green chips, and that's going to give us some logistic bots and some construction bots. Right now, these assemblers are just going to pour these bots in forever, right? I'll get millions and millions and millions if I do nothing about it. Alternatively, what about, let's just hit this read robot stats, and then let's just make sure that we are using the circuit network to say that, oh yeah, if we have less than 10 available construction bots or less than 10 available logistic bots, we're going to pump more into the system. I really like that, because then it's just a nice way of sort of slowly increasing your capacity just to meet your needs. Now, if I was doing this like most correctly, and if I was really trying to expand, I'd probably have 2 or 3 assemblers for each construction bots and for logistic bots, just to make sure that I was really responding well to my needs. But we're trying to go a little bit slower because of the pollution concerns anyway, so just 1 assembler of each is going to be fine. It'll be sufficient. There's no worries. It'll be good. Oh, but this is a problem. And now that I think about it, oh my gosh, I don't think I ever fixed this. I've got 1 assembler doing red chips. It's going to supply that 1 assembler there for the logistic bots. That's crazy talk. What are you talking about? Because there's only going to be 1 red chip every, I don't know, 24 seconds going into strictly logistic bots. Yeah, we hand fed quite a bit of logistic bots there for now, but that might be what did I say, bottleneck? There might be lots of bottlenecks, and if everything is bottlenecked, then nothing is bottlenecked. Yeah, that's just another example. But it's so nice to see our little bots starting to fly around the base and take care of some of the housekeeping duties that we have. And to help them out, let's just make sure that we have this nice little feature here. I really do enjoy making sure I always have just a section for chests. Now, do I need this many chests right now? No, absolutely not. But this makes it a really nice place to just sort of show up whenever I need to do a gigantic resupply, and then have some of the excess materials there all in one little area. So I enjoy just having this ready, even though I don't need this many yellow boxes, a little more of these like storage chests, right? It's still nice to have. And that way my wood, my coal, random resources, extra stuff, it can all just go somewhere. And then when I need it, it'll just be more available, more readily available whenever I just click on the above section there for requested logistics. Now, as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just setting up for pretty much every single item. I want to say pretty much every single item. I do try, even in the early game, as much as possible to make sure that my robots are trying to fulfill these requests. If I have the request for anywhere between, well, let's call it 100 to 200 rounds of ammunition, they will do their very, very best to make sure that I have between 100 and 200 rounds of ammunition. And so the lazy bastard portion of this run, again, not too difficult once bots are supplying you, and that feels a-okay. So that's it. Yay, we did it. Lazy bastard's not a problem. Does that mean that we're going to actually unpin the upper left option? The answer is no. That little achievement actually is going to stay there until we launch our first rocket, and then after that it goes away, like you've met the goal. But that doesn't actually make me feel better. Even after all is said and done, we're still going to make sure that we don't build more items unless absolutely required. Yeah, we're gonna stick to the spirit of the run, even if it's just not gonna be required. Now, folks, at this point, we are thinking to ourselves, look, our iron ore deposits are actually getting pretty low. We're at about 74K, which is just not too much. That's gonna last us maybe like another 30, 45 minutes. we are already being strangled for iron ore resources. And so it is time to set off. And now I have belted items from an exterior mine, like long distance mining, from forever far away. I'm like a little bit embarrassed to tell you how far away I've actually belted items in from miners that are like way too far away from my base. But I think that just the best way of doing it is truly going to be to use trains. Like, trains do in and of themselves have a little bit of a bottleneck, and later on it's going to be a problem when we have these double-ended trains that are on these single lines, because you're not going to have as much throughput as you would like, or as much throughput as you would need. But really truly, to get into the early game, like into the mid game, this is going to be sufficient for our needs. And I got to tell you, anytime I'm using trains, I would prefer to be using bots as opposed to laying this track by hand, because if I'm laying this track by hand, then I'm going to run into issues where there's trees and there's rocks and things like that, and that sucks. And so you can already tell that I'm like, wait a second, what am I doing here? Stop mining. Stop it, FixFox. Go get yourself some bots. Go get yourself a RoboPort. Pro tip, I forget the RoboPort. I'll find that out later. I think I specifically cut that out of the video because I was embarrassed and I didn't want to tell you, but I'll tell you now, because you know what? After the fact, I don't have nearly as much pride. But anyway, yeah, it's right about here that I realized, like, oh, wait a second. I don't have a... Anyway, the point is that we are slowly working our way down where we're trying to go. We've brought up power, and now we're going to have to finish off the little bit of rails that we're going to need. And we're also going to need to, again, get ourselves that RoboPort. That's going to make so much better. Yeah, we actually did have to research RoboPorts there, interestingly enough. But at this point, hey, it's just better to have the RoboPorts now, so that way we can do this and we can just get rid of tons of rocks at any given point, and also we can just set up all of our mining. It's so nice to be able to just throw down a couple of ghosts and then just let the bots handle that. This took no time at all, and that feels so good. Way better than hand placing everything, I must say. So there's always benefits to bots. Oh, the bot, the unsung hero of Factorio. Probably not unsung. In fact, it's probably like the most important bit that everybody recognizes how valuable it is. Okay, we've got iron ore coming in for these trains, and immediately I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, we're gonna have lots of pollution. How do I actually defend the space? And I'm considering at this point like doing a box, and to my chagrin, we're gonna find out later that FixFox, you should have done a box, but for now we're just gonna do little pill boxes. And I always try to make sure that my walls around these pillboxes, I try to make sure that they are one full tile length away, so that way when you get into like behemoth biters and stuff like that, that way they can't reach right over the wall and kill you. That's kind of important to me. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that we don't do that. Okay, and then we're also gonna be proactive, and as you can tell, we're fighting some of these biters. And again, I'm not gonna show you all of the biter attacks and all the stuff we do, but we are currently working off of coal. Blue biter, behemoth biter. Oh, it's happened. Well, I guess, wait, is behemoth green? Okay, this is just a big biter. Still, this is more than I can handle. This is more than I'm planning on. And unfortunately, my fuel is the main issue that's going to get me killed right here. Yes. Killed, I say. Also, the fact that I didn't have any flamethrower ammo. I ran out of flamethrower ammo. Whoops. My bad. But the issue I'm running into is that when you're using like solid fuel or coal in order to power your tank, you just don't have the oomph to really like run over the biter spawners. And I mean, that's like a big opportunity with the tank. The tank is so good, and I'm so sad that they've kind of nerfed it from the pre 1.0 version of Factorio Space Age, because it used to be that the tank could just run over everything, and now it takes so much damage whenever you run over stuff that it just I don't think that's really going to be the play. But once we get into some rocket fuel, which we will do fairly soon, like I'm aware I need rocket fuel, then we'll be able to just really be cooking with gas. In the meantime, we've actually gotten ourselves some automated production here for the iron ore. It's being mined, it's being sent on over, and then I'm going to use this train back and forth. It's going to be very, very annoying, actually, to try to use this one train back and forth just to get out to this area. In the meantime, though, remember what I said? I wish I'd done something different. This is not the first time, and this won't be the last time, that the biters absolutely ruined my plans. If I wasn't here, I would lose so many resources. That would have been so bad. As it stands, losing, what, 6 or more of these gun turrets? It's not my favorite thing, but it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. So clearly right now, we have this exterior mine, and we don't really have the ability to defend it. Like, I don't have enough turrets. I don't think that I would feasibly be able to place enough turrets to defend it. And so that forces us to go on the offensive rather than just absorb the biter attacks. What that means is, yeah, we just got to go out there and do a lot of damage. And this is, again, going to be a lot of that damage. Just absolute destruction. Now, while I'm doing all this destruction, I'm just letting the mining occur. I've got refined flammables too. I'm making a couple of upgrades, not a ton, but I'm making a couple of upgrades. But what I really understand that I need is I do need to get the oil out there to make sure that I can defend my bases with flamethrower turrets. I've got the flamethrower turrets that are guarding my oil production, but that's just like a small opportunity. I mean, there's more to do there. Quite a bit more to do there. If I can actually defend my base with flamethrower turrets, things will be much better. And so in the meantime, then, we will simply kind of be like a gardener, and we're going to be just keeping the weeds down every now and again, slicing and dicing our way through the enemy bases. And every single time that we do so, it's going to take us 3 or 4 or 5 full repairs of these tanks before we're able to go back out there. I mean, that takes 10 to 20 seconds of real world action, and oh my gosh, there's a biter killing us. And it's right about here that I say to myself, look, this simply will not do. We do have to get some adequate defenses that I've completely and totally neglected thus far. And yeah, this is going to just be the beginning of that. So from here on out, there's just going to be random turrets placed all over the place. And now finally, we are getting into this rocket fuel. Originally, I was going to do the rocket fuel with light oil for the solid fuel and then light oil to make the rocket fuel. That's incorrect. You should pretty much always just use the petroleum to make the solid fuel. And then you should just use the light oil to make the rocket fuel. Yeah, much better, much better. And I'm not going to need much, folks. In the early game, you can always just like hop into the car or the tank and it will automatically choose your best fuel to fuel whatever vehicle you're driving, the car, the tank, whatever. I really try to only use some of these rocket fuels when I need them in the early game until I have a ton of them and it doesn't become important anymore. In the early game, the rocket fuel is as good as gold and able to let you run over 2 biter spawners at the same time. Yeah, so they're pretty good. I want to make sure that I'm only using them when I really need to. And I'm going to need to make sure I don't get all my bots killed as they're trying to repair the base. Or repair the tank anyway. But instantly, the ability to run over more than one building at a time and to be able to actually like kind of pick your way through some of the spittle that's on the ground that slows you down and does damage instantly. Yeah, clearing bases has become so much easier just with that one bit of tech. Going again from solid fuel or from coal into rocket fuel for your tank is not just a small thing, it's a massive upgrade. I feel so much stronger. Okay, so we're kind of trimming back our enemy bases there. Again, that's going to be a long-term just struggle because the biters are going to expand continually and they're always going to expand in a place that seems to me to be the very worst spot for me. Like, you know, in the pollution cloud, for example, or like right at the edge and then just kind of getting a sniff, like a little bit of a whiff of the pollution cloud. And when they do, what do I do then? The answer is this. I must kill everything and everyone. Funny enough, I don't think that the resource cost of what I'm doing right now is actually that expensive. Like if you use bullets, it's gonna be pretty expensive, but this, not so bad. That's pretty bad though. Don't do that. Well, at least this time I don't have to die. This time I can actually defeat my enemies. In future runs, I'll tell you that when I run into an enemy that I actually die to, I do my best to make sure that I just don't hit load game. I just try to respawn. By the way, I almost died to prevent this forest fire. Smokey the Bear would be so proud of me. I'm proud of me. If Smokey the Bear's not proud of me, like, all right, buddy, like, I get it. What have I done for you recently? But I literally take shots from a spitter just to make sure that the forest fire doesn't really happen. And yeah, number one, it's just the principle of the matter. Trees prevent pollution. And fire, when you burn trees, makes more pollution. So it's like worse than just like a net negative. It's like double worse. It's bad. It's bad. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't die to that, but I really totally could have. By the way, when I did lose that tank, it was a little bit interesting to make sure I was able to get some of the materials out. Okay, folks, we didn't double our iron ore production, but I'm taking a look here and I'm noting that, hey man, we just did a nice upgrade there. Number one, we upgraded our belts so that we're getting the materials actually down into all of the different furnaces. And then also we've upgraded quite a bit of our other arrays, so that way we could go from stone to steel furnaces as much as possible. I think I just got an assembler somewhere that's just creating that. So all told then, that's a pretty successful day of Factorio right there, right? We go from no bots into getting bots. We go from no logistics network into getting a logistics network. We get some long range mining, and we only have 2 of those miners in our starting ore patch anyway for the iron. So yeah, this was pretty successful, and yeah, we're not dead yet. I mean, I say we're not dead yet. Is that the way it is? That's the way it is. Okay, folks. See you in the next one. Bye now.